guys are the true heroes. They stood and put their lives on the line for these lowlives, for Trump.
They lied under oath.
They lied under oath.
Right.
Who lied under oath? What are you telling me?
Those two traitors behind you.
Excuse me?
Those two traitors behind you.
They lied under oath?
That's right.
What are you saying?
They're traitors.
They're traitors. You gotta, I don't know, I don't even know how to deal with you, my friend. I don't even know how to deal with you. They stood there, they didn't have to. And there were other ones in there who probably were in with them a little bit too, and they found a way to get around. Not these guys. They stood there and fought for us, for you. For you.
Well, they weren't fighting for me.
No, they fought for you, buddy. You're able to stand right here now. They are the true heroes. I'm honored to be with these two heroes today, from former Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn and former Metropolitan Police Officer Michael Fanone.
Now, I'm not here to give advice to pro-Trump hecklers, but I would offer that if there's one person to avoid heckling on Trump's behalf, it's probably Robert De Niro in New York City. Just, you know, for starters. The heckling came during a surprise appearance on behalf of the Biden campaign to make clear the implications of the November election.
I love this city. I don't want to destroy it. Donald Trump wants to destroy not only the city, but the country, and eventually he could destroy the world. I owe this city a lot. And that's why it's so weird that Donald Trump is just across the street. Because he doesn't belong in my city. I don't know where he belongs, but he certainly doesn't belong here. We New Yorkers used to tolerate him when he was just another grubby real estate hustler masquerading as a big shot. A two-bit playboy lying his way into the tabloids, pretending to be a spokesperson for himself. He was calling it as himself for himself, to fool the press into inflating his net worth. A clown. But this city is pretty accommodating. We make room for clowns. Trump bought their votes with outrageous lies and empty promises. He got the most religious evangelicals to applaud a sinner who bragged about sexual assault, and who, just a couple of blocks from here, a jury found him liable for sexual abuse. Somehow he even got self-styled patriots to support a man who called for terminating the Constitution, and on January 6th rallied an angry mob to threaten democracy, leaving death and destruction in its wake. That's why I needed to be involved and wanted to be involved in the new Biden-Harris ad, because it shows the violence of Trump and reminds us that he'll use violence against anyone who stands in the way of his megalomania and greed. But it's a coward's violence. You think Trump ever threw a punch himself or took one? This guy who ran and hid in the White House bunker when there were protesters outside? No way. He doesn't get blood on his hands. No, he doesn't. He directs the mob to do his dirty work for him by making a suggestion, an inference. And his gang grovels and follows his obvious order. It's no surprise that the murder rate and other violent crimes peaked under Trump and are falling under Biden. And now he's promising to use our own military to attack U.S. citizens. That's the tyrant. That's the tyrant he's telling us he'll be. And believe me, he means it.
Importantly, to date, the Biden campaign has all but avoided any optics linking itself with Donald Trump's prosecution, and the reason for that was obvious. Donald Trump has been claiming for months that this prosecution is being led by Joe Biden. To be clear, it's not. Biden has quite literally nothing to do with it. It's led by District Attorney Alvin Bragg and the city of New York because Donald Trump falsified business records to illegally hide a hush money payout for an affair he had while his wife was at home with their infant son so that it wouldn't hurt him in the upcoming election. But because Donald Trump wallows in victimhood and conspiracies, he tried to convince everyone that Biden had something to do with it. And so the Biden campaign concluded that mentioning this prosecution or linking itself in any way whatsoever would add fuel to the fire that is this conspiracy theory, which is why they avoided it until now, and I think that's absolutely the right move. Here's why. First of all, Donald Trump is going to say that this was Biden's fault anyway. Hell, Trump is going to say everything that's happening to him is Biden's fault. Whether Biden says nothing or goes full bore, Donald Trump's response will be identical. And so knowing that he's going to be blamed by Trump regardless, the campaign might as well go where the media is and make their case. Which brings me to point number 2. The danger of Donald Trump is worth acknowledging. Donald Trump is perhaps days away from being a convicted felon. A wide raft of Americans rightfully view that as disqualifying. And so knowing how much of a blatant weakness that is, the last thing the Biden campaign should do is give this guy a free pass. Again, none of this is Biden's doing. Donald Trump is a grown-ass man. He made the conscious decision to have sex with a porn star. He made the conscious decision to pay her off for her silence. He made the conscious decision to falsify business records to hide that hush money payout. He made the conscious decision to break the law. And now he's being held accountable for that decision. If you can point me to which part of that is Joe Biden's fault, I'm all ears. So good on the Biden campaign for going on offense and recognizing that if Donald Trump is going to have a temper tantrum and point fingers at you anyway, well then you might as well weigh in and draw some well-deserved attention to a major vulnerability in the Republican nominee for president. Namely, that he is dangerous and is right now being held accountable for his criminality. I should note too, it was smart to do it with Robert De Niro, because while Donald Trump gaslights the country into thinking that he's somehow about to win in New York by pretending that sparsely attended rallies in the Bronx brought in 25,000 people, take a look at this photo and tell me with a straight face that this right here is 25,000 people, I can guarantee you that the vast majority of New Yorkers actually identify with Robert De Niro over Donald Trump. This right here is what a real New Yorker looks like, someone who's willing to speak the truth, no bullshit, about the dangers posed by a second Trump term. And it wasn't just De Niro. He was joined by officers Harry Dunn and Michael Fanone. Fanone drove home the benefit of De Niro being there.
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly grateful for Robert De Niro lending his celebrity and his voice to this cause. That being said, I think that it's disheartening to know that that's what it takes 3.5 years after an insurrection at the Capitol in which hundreds of police officers were brutalized and our democracy was threatened, to get the media's attention. And listen, I'm not painting everyone in with a broad brush here. Some networks have done an excellent job, but there's still networks out there that are mischaracterizing the facts of that day.
And elected officials.
Mischaracterizing, the events that led up to the insurrection at the Capitol. And then there are other networks that have just turned away from the insurrection as if, we can just forget about it and move beyond it, and the country will somehow come together without accountability for that day.
This is a choice in this election. What have been your messages to the Biden campaign?
That Donald Trump is the biggest threat to our democracy. He said it himself that he wants to be a dictator from day one. Those are his words. At what point do we not take him serious?
I don't have any message for the Biden campaign. I mean, Joe Biden's going to run his campaign the way that he runs his campaign. Michael Fanone is going to continue to speak out about, my experience and the experience of law enforcement officers at the hands of the former president, and remind Americans that when they go to cast their vote on November 5th, there's a clear choice between an authoritarian who has a violence fetish and, somebody who seems at least has a long track record of commitment to democracy, the peaceful transfer of power in our Constitution.
And to a similar point, here's what Harry Dunn said when he was asked why they were there.
Why did the Biden campaign decide to come here today?
Because you all are here. We've been incessantly covering this day in and day out, and we want to remind the American people ahead of the next debate, of the first debate on June 27th, of the unique, persistent, and growing threat that Donald Trump poses to the American people and to our democracy. So since you all are here, we're here communicating that message, as we will do day in, day out until the debate in Atlanta.
So good on these guys for showing up where the press is and making the case as to why Biden should be the next president. And good on the campaign itself for going on offense, for not pussyfooting around this case, for not allowing Donald Trump to own the narrative and gaslight Americans into thinking that Biden is responsible for this prosecution, and instead making the case to the American people as to why Donald Trump is wholly and clearly unfit to be the next president. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.